Rules and processes. The next thing we're going to see is how we can bring rules to the panel of a process using a system task. Besides, we're going to see how to use all the different types of rules in a class of process. We're going to see that when we're using an uploader rule to bring these rules to the panel of a class of process, it's very important to take into account the order. Let's say I need to bring 4 or 5 different rules, and certain rules are using or are combined with other rules. It's very important to take into account the order, because if we don't have the previous values that we need in order to make a calculation, for example, the calculation wouldn't work. So we always have to take into account the order in which we bring the values of the business rules to the panel of our process. Here we can see that I've designed a class of process with several objects. The first 3 objects I want to explain is a start message event, this system task, and this personal task. First of all, I'm going to the configuration of the start message event. And here we're going to see that we've added several interface rules. For example, lots of these fields are mandatory. Then we have other fields, for example, that might be limited or calculated. For example, here we have a field that's calculated, so it has a calculated value. Here we can see that based on the buyer's income and how much cash they're going to contribute to this operation, we're going to have a maximum operation value. Okay, so depending on the values that we input here, this field is going to be calculated. Besides, here we have another field. It's called how much cash do you want to invest? Here, we could add a limit. Wait, it would be better in this one here. Yeah, it could be this one here. We could add a limit, and we could say, well, I don't want anyone to invest more than the maximum operation value. This would also be an interface rule. So once we do this, whoever inputs a value in this field can never input an amount greater than the maximum operation value. Okay, so here we can see there's several limits to the amount or the type of data that's input inside of this form. So let's trigger the process. Okay, here we can see the form. We can add a name, an email, the type of property we want. For example, let's say we want a house, the buyer's monthly income. Here we can see that the maximum operation value has already been updated because it's a calculated value, and it's 325,000 euros or dollars or whatever currency. Now, if we say we want to contribute with some cash that we want to give up front, for example, 25,000, we can see here the maximum operation value has gone up to 350,000. Okay, so based on this field, this calculated value it's been updated. Okay, now how much do we want to invest? Obviously, I'm not going to choose a number that's greater than this value because we know it's not going to accept it. So I'll say I want to invest 250,000. Okay, and now here we're going to indicate in how many years do we want to repay the loan. Okay, these are not drop-down lists. The thing is, whenever I input a value, for example 30, later on the system remembers and it offers me the values I've already input. So the next time I come to this form, I can select it. Okay. Anyways, we've already filled in the form. I'm going to trigger the process and I'm going to send this information to the real estate agent. Okay, here it says the data that we input into this form is going to be sent to the real estate agent. This way they know what type of offers they need to give the customer. So we send in this information, and immediately the real estate agent is going to receive a task. Before I start explaining what we can see here in this task, I want to show the diagram. Here we go. And we see there's an uploader, and we're bringing several business rules to the panel of our process. For example, here we're bringing current goals, we're bringing the interest rate, Okay, the interest rate is, I think it's an assignment rule. I'll check it in a moment. So here we can see we have a value called interest rate, and it's giving me 0.45. And we have another value of another business rule that's called current goals, and it's giving me this text. This is a textual rule. How did we bring these two business rules to our process? We did this with a system task. We updated them with a system task and we brought them to the panel. This way they can be directly displayed here in this form. We have other business rules, but we're not bringing the values because they're based on the property price. So until we input here a property price, we don't really know what values are going to appear in these other business rules. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is these two business rules and how to bring them to the panel. So the first thing we do, obviously, is create the business rule. But this is something we've already seen. So here we go. Okay, I'm in the business rules. I've got several different rules. And I have I think it's an assignment rule. It's called interest rate. Okay, and here in the definition, this is something we already created before. You guys already saw how this was created. I have that the interest rate is 0.45. This is the value I brought into the panel of my process, 0.45. And I can use this value for any type of calculations to combine them with other rules or for whatever I need in the process. Okay, so there we have one of our rules. And we also had a textual rule that we created. I think it was called current goals. I go to the definition, and here basically it's some text. Okay, so these are the, let's say, the real estate products that we're trying to sell sooner. Okay, for example, some apartments, some houses of a golf resort, and so on. Okay, and here we can see that we brought this text to the panel, and this is why it's being displayed here. Something important that we've already mentioned is the order in which we bring these business rules to the panel of the process. In this case, the order is not really important because there's a textual rule that has nothing to do with the other business rule that I'm bringing. But something I do want to take into account is that when we bring these business rules in a system task, there's not going to be any performance issues for the user. Let's say instead of bringing the business rules here or updating the business rules here, I go to the configuration of this personal task, and in the form, here we can see we've got an option. Okay, I'm inside of the configuration of the personal task, and we've got an option. It's called update rules. Obviously, we could update the rules each time we enter this form, but it wouldn't be so efficient for the user because this means maybe the form, it would take half a second more to load. Okay, and usually we don't want this to happen. So if we can update the rules outside of the personal task, obviously for performance, it's going to be much better. But let's say we cannot update the rules uh, outside of the form because we actually need the rules to use a value that we have here in the interface of the user. So for example, here we have a property price, and based on the property price, I'm going to know how much is going to be the benefit for the real estate agent or his commission, and how much is going to be the profit for the promoter. Obviously, in order to know this, we need to know the property price. Okay, so here we have a button. It's calculating it's bringing these business rules to the panel of the process. It's updating these values. For example, here we can see we're bringing the real estate benefit, the promoter's benefit. We're bringing the interest rate. The interest rate, it's not really important because we already have the interest rate in the panel of our process. So if we want, we could take it off of here. Unless the interest rate changed in that moment, in that exact moment when I clicked on the button, then it would be important for us to add this operation here. And here we have a monthly fee. Okay, this is calculating a value that we can see down here. Okay, so in order to know the monthly fee, I need to know the interest rate. So here in the button, it's very important that first we bring the interest rate and afterwards we calculate the monthly fee. Okay, so it's very important to update these two in this order, in this specific order. Okay, so how do we bring these business rules to the process, or how do we bring or update a rule in a process? Well, we click on rule. It's important to click on rule. We're not going to click on mathematical dates or direct. We're going to click on rule. Here we're going to select a business rule. Obviously, I already brought them to the panel in my process, but let's say I want to bring an additional one. I'd click on add rules. I hit the button proceed, and here I have all the business rules that I've been creating. It's very important the mode of these business rules. Okay, if I go to the business rules repository, let me see here. I can see this one, for example, it's not certified, but it has immediate application. This is why in the class of process, it's allowing me to select it. If this one, for example, was regular or when it's certified, then I could not select it. Obviously, if it's certified, then I would be able to select it. Okay, so we have to take into account that when we're in the system task, it's only going to offer us the business rules that are actually either already published, sorry, it's not published, the name, it's certified, or even though they're not certified, here in application it needs to say immediate. Okay, so all we do is click on add rules. We'd select the rule we want to bring. For example, let's say we want to bring the textual rule that's called current goals. We'd accept the selection, and there it goes. We have the value, and it's ready. Now, once we've added it here to the list, it means that each time we click on this button, the value that's inside of this business rule is going to be brought to the panel. And it would be the same for all the other business rules. Okay, I'm going to take it off. I can take this one off too. Okay, so now we're going to test this. We're going to input some values. We're going to click on the button, and we're going to see how all these values are being brought to the panel of the process. Okay, I'm going back to the task here. So we launched the process. Okay, once we launched the process, we received this task here. It already went through the system task and brought us certain business rules. For example, this one here and this one here. But we're still missing a few rules. For example, here we need to know the real estate benefit and the promoter benefit. We also want to know the monthly fee. So I'm going to input here, for example, a property price. Since the customer said they only want to invest 250,000, I'll say I found a house that's 250,000. Okay. And now I'm going to click on calculate, and it's going to give me the results. So I'll click on calculate, and here we can see it says the real estate agent benefit is going to be 2. Now we're going to show the business rule to see how it's getting this number. And it's also saying the promoter company benefit is 245,000. Okay. And now here we also see that based on the interest rate, the monthly fee is going to be 325. Okay, let's see how we got all of these numbers. So first of all, let's see how can we know the real estate agent benefit. We go to business rules, we go to the business rule real estate agent benefit, and we click here on definition. And we can see here it's got all these different combinations of criterions and results. So here I have a result that says number 2. Okay, it gave me a 2, so it could only be either this one or this one. But I know it's this one because we actually asked for a house. Well, the customer is asking for a house, and the property price is greater than, this would be 500,000. So, sorry, I said it the other way around. The property house is going to be lower than 500,000, and that's why it's applying 2. Okay, so here we have our inference rule. We know the property price is lower than 500,000. This is why it's giving me back the value number 2. Okay, now how are we achieving the promoter company benefit? Let's take a look at another rule that's called promoter company benefit. And here we can see we've got an intermediate calculation, and it says, first of all, get the property price, multiply this by the inference rule, where we know the commission of the sales agent, okay, and we know it's 2, and divide it by 100. So let's see what this is going to give us. So we have property price 250,000 multiplied by the inference rule that we know it's 2, okay? And we're going to divide this by 100 and we know it's 5,000, okay? So the sales agent is going to have a commission of 5,000 euros or dollars or whatever, okay? So here we know what their commission is, but later on here we have another final operation. And it says it's going to be the property price minus the sale property agent benefit. This is the result of the first operation. Okay, so here we have the intermediate operation that we're using here, and we know that the result is 5,000, and we know that the property price is 250,000. Okay, so 5,000 minus 250,000, that's going to give us a result of 245,000. Okay, I did it the other way around, that's why we have a minus in front. And let's see what the result is here on the form. Okay, so exactly, it's giving us 245,000. So we know that these business rules have been working correctly. So we've already checked the interest rate. We've checked these other two rules. We know that the textual rule here is also working. We're going to check the monthly fee rule. So how does this one work? We'll go to monthly fee, and we can see here, it's also calculated value. It's also a calculation business rule, but here we only have one operation. And basically the monthly fee, it's property price multiplied by the interest rate. Okay, remember this is the result of an assignment business rule. And we're dividing this by how many years do you want to repay the loan. And we know that this person said they wanted to repay their loan in 25 years. And we're dividing this by 12. I know this is a very simple calculation. If you're working in the in the banking industries, obviously this is much more complex, but this is a simple example so that everyone can understand what these operations are doing and how they're affecting the results here in the process. Now we can continue with the third part of the exercise.